Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hi, Joe.
How is everyone?
Good, thank you. Not bad at all.
Very well.
Excellent. Rosie, you're back in the office, it looks like.
I am back in the office, and actually, yeah, there's quite a few of us here today, so it's quite nice. It feels like life is slowly beginning to return to some normality. It's good to see people.
Oh, it really is. No, I'm in the office myself, and it's just so nice to be back with people. For those that don't know you, Rosie, as I say, we're doing this Wellbeing at Work series. Simon and I just want to have some really great conversations with different individuals and business leaders across the UK on really how you've managed through the pandemic, how your business has grown and thrived, and how you're coming out the other side, which everyone is talking about at the moment. And perhaps we'll touch on what you've been doing to maybe look after your own well-being, and any fitness activity that you've been doing, and then we'll also have some words of wisdom from you, and I'm sure we'll have some insight from Simon as well, who's always a fountain of knowledge when we have these calls. So Rosie, I know you as the co-owner of Cook Food, which is one of my favourite places to go when I have no clue what I'm going to cook for dinner for my family, and you get me out of trouble so many times. And you've got such a wide range. I think the decision making is always my issue. Do I go curry? Do I go chicken? It's just always so much choice. And obviously you've got your kids range as well. So there is literally something for everyone. What I also love about you is that you run the company with your brother, and I don't think many people know that. So it's always nice to speak to another family business. And I would just love for you to share with everybody a bit of history of Cook, how it started, how much you've grown, and sort of where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So I think the roots of Cook are actually with my mother. We all blame my mother. So she was a really good home cook. But she was a busy working woman, so she used to batch cook for the freezer. So used to get these sort of lumps of sort of brown sludge and sort of ice cream tubs in the freezer, but they always tasted delicious. And then my elder brother, was about 25 at the time, and he thought there's a business in this, really good quality home cooking for the freezer. And so off he went. But the problem is he couldn't cook at all, still can't. And so he found a guy that could cook called Dale. And the two of them founded the business in 1997. And it was just the two of them. And Dale, they found a disused pizza kitchen, which Dale started cooking in. And Ed found a little retail unit in Farnham. And £20,000 from the bank, and off they went. And it's sort of as simple as that, really. And it's grown from there. So from tiny acorns, and I think we've sort of got 91 shops today and about a £90 million business with 1,500 team members. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. I joined the business in 2000, so when it was 3 years old. So I've sort of been on most of that journey. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. But
That is phenomenal growth, isn't it? When was it when your brother sort of said, Rosie, I want to bring you in? Or how did that conversation start?
so I was working in the city at the time and feeling thoroughly unfulfilled and fed up and directionless, really, in my mid-20s. And my brother phones up and says, we need someone to run an HR department and do all of that. And I said, look, I know nothing about HR, nothing at all. And he went, well, we know nothing about running a business, but who cares? Come and do it anyway. So I did, and that was my brief. I went and I started kind of doing HR and figuring out what HR was. And really, for me, people are the source of any business. And it's fascinated me ever since, kind of people in business, company culture, and how you can grow that kind of startup culture, I suppose, of really tight relationships, really clear purpose, real ambition, and how you can scale that is something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to, when it comes to scalability of a business, I think that's something that sort of evolves over time, and you learn from working in that sort of world. I was just interested to know what your kind of key drivers are for growth.
Yeah, so we've got sort of a few, I suppose. I mean, there's the there's the really sort of bog standard answer, which is we open new shops. So, um, for us to grow, we have to make sure we can make the food. So we have to build bigger and bigger kitchens, and we also deliver all the food. So we need capacity just from an infrastructure point of view. Obviously, then we need the sales, so we open new shops. We've had we sort of did franchising for a few years because it was the most cost-effective way to grow. We stopped that quite a long time ago now. So we have company-owned shops, we have franchise shops, we have concessions, so where we use other people's retail space to sell our product, and we grow that way. And those are all the really obvious kind of physical space ways of growing. And then we also look at our food as a growth driver. So, launching new ranges, incremental ranges, making sure we're always winning in taste, that kind of thing grows the business. And then we always look at, obviously, marketing. And we've done very, very little marketing really over the last 20 years. We've been all about building a brand rather than spending money on marketing. And I think our digital transformation is seeing that change actually, and seeing marketing as being a real growth driver for us going forward. So we're kind of learning in that space. So that's sort of how we've grown. Sort of online, I suppose, new stores, concessions, and then getting the basics right, in as much as getting the product right, I suppose. Yeah.
And tell us, Rosie, you just touched on digital transformation there. How was it going into lockdown, March 2020? I'm assuming most of your offices then closed. You're sending your staff home. You need to give them the technology so they can work from home, or did you have it set up in a really creative way already, and a forward thinking way, as well as the demand for the online store, your website, people going online all of a sudden. I know I've done it before. You can order a roast in a box, and you're like being creative, and does that mean you need more people monitoring those orders? That means you need more vans on the road doing the home deliveries. That, like you say, it's the scale of that digital transformation.
Yeah, well, I mean, in March last year, the orders came so thick and fast, like they did for most online retailers, to the point we had to close the website because we were completely losing the plot with what was being booked, what we could then deliver, it was so sort of scary and unknown at the time. So we were just like a lot of companies, we just shut off the website to get on top of it. But our our retail sales before the pandemic, about 20% of our shop sales came through the website, 80% were walk-ins off the street. And the pandemic has completely transformed our business. So now around 55% of our shop sales come through the website. So that has completely transformed our whole model about, which shop fronts you start to really invest in and how you think about the business. And as a result of that as well, we had a 3-year plan to roll out vans. And in March, April, we were like, we just got to go. We've just got to do it. So we did a 3-year plan effectively in 3 months. And the team did an incredible job. We pulled together a team of about 16 people from across the business, alongside all the shop managers. And we were just like, right, go. Like, the customer needs it delivered. And this is our real opportunity to build a sustainable home delivery model. COVID is terrible and it's awful. But in the business world, it has given opportunity as well. And it was an opportunity we just needed to seize to transform the business. So we did, but it's been pretty intense. And that changes everything in our, everything about how our shops operate, how our customers shop has changed. And we don't foresee it going back. It's been a year of steep learning, and still is. We're still trying to now iron out the things that you do in a rush. You then have to go back and get it right. So yeah, it's been full on.
But I think that's really in the heart of Cook as well, is that you've always put the customer first. And like you say, even though you had to put that 3-year plan into in just a few months, you do that because that's what's right for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's how the customer wants to shop, and also during a pandemic, it's a way we can genuinely contribute and be useful. We've got quite a lot of elderly customers. We've also got quite a lot of sort of empty nester customers who were shielding, and it was a way that we could be of service to our customers, and you don't want to miss that opportunity. So it was great to be able to contribute, and I think there were so many of our friends in the hospitality world who were having such a tough time, and so we were just grateful that we could do something. And full steam ahead it was. But yeah, looking after the customer and looking after our own teams have always been absolutely at the heart of what we do. Otherwise, we'll give up and go home. There's no point.
I just had a message. I just got a message of confirmation that my father actually did buy some of your products over the lockdown period, because he was one of the vulnerable. He lives in a what he calls his penthouse apartment in the sky. It's effectively it's an elderly residence kind of hotel, but it gets looked after by a manager, but they're obviously free to do whatever they want. He used some of your products during that period, so I found it very
great. That's really.
I think that's touched on a really good subject in terms of the positivity of products like that to help people that are vulnerable, and how sort of attaining healthy foods with all the nutrients the body needs to thrive effectively, and get through this difficult period, because it has been quite an extensive, long period of time, and with all the sort of celebrating and coming out of it effectively to some degree, people can rationalize and review the period and reflect on it, and then moving forwards they can organize their time, and also using products like yourselves to help provide them with nutrition they need.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think the nutrition really is at the heart of Cook. When Cook was invented in 1997, there were no ready meals except for ones that were really, really bad or full of CRAP. And one of the whole ideas of the business was mum's home cooking was always so wholesome, and it wasn't always free of fat, or it's often full of butter and cream, but it was always very wholesome with well-sourced ingredients. And the idea was actually, could we do the same? And so for me, great cooking starts with great ingredients. It starts with no nasties. I think freezing is a great way of locking in flavor and nutrients and not having to add in any preservatives or anything like that. So I think that whole kind of vibe of made like you would at home, not putting in any extra nasties or anything, is so much of what we're about. Is wholesome, hearty food. It's not always free of fat. Our pastry is definitely not to be eaten more than once a week, but it's amazing, good quality food and high nutritional content, definitely.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we work with a nutritionist on the Get Active program, which we're launching soon, and she's always harping on about the fact that what has worked for thousands of years, and food becomes a fashion, and we go through these periods of fashionable foods and fashionable ways of eating, and ultimately good whole products and wholesome foods with high nutrient value and various colors. So we eat a colorful plate, so we can attain all the vitamins, nutrients, we call them micronutrients, that we need, and then we balance what we call our macronutrients, which is made up of carbohydrates and protein and fats, etc., to thrive and fuel our bodies and give our body what we need in order to provide us with the energy to think even, and to physically move on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I couldn't agree more with that kind of message of balance. I think that's what it's all about. And we definitely, we've definitely been quite intentional with a couple of ranges. So we definitely have a one pot range, which is, for a quick light lunch, which is you know, all big on a calorie message and how many of your 5 a day and that kind of thing. And then we've got we're just launching actually this summer, really excitingly. They're called whole bowls, which again are a whole balanced meal in one that are really good for you. But I think that's in response to the market, because I think people are becoming more nutritionally aware, and they don't want to eat. They just want to put. I think we're sort of moving in the way that we want to put stuff that's good for us in our bodies. You know, and that's nutritional, not so much stripped away calories or stripped away anything, but actually something that's going to really nourish us. And we're all about nourishing foods. So yeah, how can we do that in a way that meets the market is definitely something we've tried to be intentional about.
I think that's great. I think that's really good. So Rosie, how have you been keeping yourself fit, healthy, over the last year? Because I mean, the problem with lockdown is everyone kept saying that they work, they go in the kitchen, they go in the fridge, they go back to the desk, go back to the fridge. Oh, I mean, Steve Backley was talking about it last week, wasn't he, Simon? Where as he keeps going back for more food.
So yeah, I'm human. I struggle with all of that. So I definitely, in that first lockdown, I developed actually for the first time a proper treadmill habit, and it was the only thing that kept me sane. Like every day I got on that thing, and I was like, you know, we were having to make so many decisions every day, and big decisions, and decisions that had really high stakes in terms of people's well-being. And you know, they can be quite scary when you've got a team of 1,500, because you desperately want to do the right thing, but yeah, you've got to really keep a clear head. And so yeah, that treadmill, and I'm not a treadmill girl at all, in fact they're my worst nightmare, but it was, for those early days, an absolute saving grace. I would say my more kind of what I tend to do is I'm a big dog walker. So I've got two walks who I adore, two dogs who I adore, and I'm sort of a great believer in that there are very few business problems that can't be solved with a lap of the field with my dogs. And so I don't do a lot of high impact exercise. I probably should, but I don't. But I do a lot of walking, and I take the dogs out often, and especially if I'm feeling a sort of lack of clarity or a bit of stress, the first place I go is nature walk. So for me, that's the thing that I would really, really struggle without. I'm lucky enough to live in the country. And so I've got walks on my back door, and I'm just straight out the back door whenever I feel things are getting a bit stressful or lack of clarity is coming. Yeah, I go for a good long walk. So yeah, I don't have a exercise routine. I'm not high intensity, but I'm out in nature a lot. So yeah, that's probably what I do to keep sane, to be honest.
These are Simon's favorite topics. So Simon, you've got to talk about the benefits of walking. You love talking about this.
No, that, I mean, what you said was just embraces everything that we've talked about on the Get Active program. It encompasses a lot of walking, encouraging walking, and a lot of the research that's coming out and has come out over the past 10 years, reflecting on the benefits of walking and the science of walking. I did a recent video on that, talking about the best form of locomotion is walking, because it's something that's it's accessible for everyone. And running is obviously the ultimate way to build up your cardiovascular system. However, you need that really good stability base. So you need a nice stable base and layer up the intensity and volume over a period of time. And some people sort of rush that process a bit too extreme, and they sort of plod along the road looking like they absolutely hate it, and it doesn't always last so long. And then they go back to walking. So whereas I try and sort of educate people on the fact that you need to gently layer up and gradually layer up the amount of volume and intensity that you place on your body, and your body will thank you for it, and you will enjoy that process. So for example, if you were determined to run, then you would layer up the amount of walking volume first, and then the intensity of the walking, and then maybe add some gradients in there, then start adding maybe a little bit of jogging, but mainly walking, and then you slowly reduce the amount of walking, increase the jogging, and then you layer in the running with the jogging, and etc. And that's how you build a sort of good base foundation for your cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory system. But walking has huge benefit, especially in nature. So there's been recent studies which reflect, which actually state that walking in nature is beneficial for your mindset, and is very thought-provoking, and it kind of encourages your creative mind. So there's nothing better than being a leader of business, going out for a walk in nature and actually increasing your creativity, because that will ignite ideas that you can then convey to your teams. And then it also encourages that passion as well. So I think it's so important as a leader of business to be extremely passionate about the business itself, obviously. But I think walking helps that, being out in nature and just being more creative.
Totally, that's definitely my experience. I'm glad to hear there's some science behind it. But no, that's totally my experience as well. Yeah, good walks can solve quite a lot of issues.
When you're out on a walk, Rosie, are you on your phone? Do you listen to a podcast, or are you just at one with nature, just listening to the birds? I'm just interested because we talk about trying to disconnect in order to get clarity, but sometimes it's too tempting, isn't it, to think, oh, I'm just going to make some calls,
Yeah, no, I'll have my phone in my pocket just in case the dog runs off, or like, because I'm a paranoid woman. But I would never listen to a podcast or anything on a walk. I'll just go out, and I'm not even sure I'm really listening to the birds, to be honest. I'm not sure I'm that conscious. But yeah, no, I like silence on a walk. Or there's nothing like a good walk with a friend either.
Yes.
And I've walked a bit with colleagues. Um, recently, and I've decided easily the best way to have a career conversation with anyone is to go for a walk with them. I've got a nice loop at the back of my office for an hour, and like trying to have those meetings sat across the desk, they're not that productive. Whereas going for a walk with someone, all sorts of stuff comes out. So yeah, I'm a big fan of walking wherever possible.
I think walking meetings are the future. We
Yeah.
had a client here today, which was so lovely. And I left my bag down with my laptop, and I didn't open my laptop at all. We did a couple of loops outside because it's such a beautiful day today, and that was our meeting.
No, it's brilliant. I've got one at 3:30 this afternoon with someone that said, "Can I pick your brains about something?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go for a walk." I'm like, it's so much more pleasant for everybody.
No, that's absolutely brilliant. I think also there's something in maybe not always, but I think there's something in doing interviews walking, because people get so nervous and their true personality doesn't always necessarily come out in interviews. And I've interviewed people in the past, and some people are very confident, and other people sit there and don't say much, and you don't really learn and understand who that person actually is. But you get them on a walk and they suddenly relax because they haven't got this kind of claustrophobic room in front of them, and then that person staring at them, and you're walking side by side with somebody just discussing things. And I think there's some real benefits in that for not only meetings but also maybe even interviews and things.
I love that. I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, do you know, it was so interesting, Rosie. I was doing some meetings with some staff recently outside. Again, it was just so nice to catch up with them face to face. And then one of the girls came up to me, and she was a little bit shy, and she said, "Oh, I just wanted to introduce myself to you, Joe. So you employed me a while ago, but we've never met." And that's the reality, isn't it, of the pandemic.
Wow.
Happened is that, she's worked for us for this time and not actually met.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. It's completely nuts. I agree.
Tell me a little bit. I had a quick look on your website earlier, Rosie, and you had this to-do list, and I know it said 2020, and it was saying about how you're going to support the well-being of your employees, and that was one of your tick lists. How are you doing that, and what are your, what were your plans in 2020, which I'm assuming you're probably still carrying on now, of what was on that to-do list for your staff?
The team. So I think, for me, I think the most important thing about running a business is caring for your team. And that's kind of where it all starts. That's where your culture starts. And everything, be it product, customer service, everything comes from that company culture internally. So looking after them is a pretty high priority. And I think that we all want the same things from work, really. Like it's not rocket science. I think we all want to feel valued and appreciated. We all want to be able to have a voice. in what we do. You know, lots of us want opportunities for growth and development. I think we want to feel like we belong. We want to feel part of something. And so I think it's trying to take those things about what it is to be human. You know, we all want to feel useful, so we want to have purpose. We like to be able to contribute as humans. So kind of what do we all share as humans in common? There's definitely some themes. And then in the workplace, trying to deliver on that. So, you know, we usually do, for example, a lot of internal events and get-togethers and parties because we're a really relational culture. And that's been a real challenge this year because we haven't been able to do all of our usual kind of, you know, get-togethers, which are kind of the oil that greases the engine, I always think. So we've done a lot virtually and we've made progress, but I can't wait to get together on that. You know, we had when coronavirus hit, we pulled together a group that called themselves the Wellbeing Warriors, and they sent something out twice a week to the whole company with you know, things like we did an anxiety tea and talk once a week that anybody could just tune into on Zoom and just chat through how they were feeling. You know, we've been running financial seminars and workshops because a lot of people have been worried about financial well-being. We've had a yoga class with like people from right across lots of different shops and everything tuning in and doing yoga. We've had a like more high impact Keep Fit class, which again has connected, you know, 35 people a week from right across the company doing Keep Fit together. So we've had, you know, we've had a number of things running, sort of online workshops for people to connect to, more career development-y stuff, physical stuff. You know, we sort of talk about mind, body and soul and just trying to cover off all of those different elements of well-being, really. And the most important one, I think, is listening and really trying to listen to how people felt about, you know, all of our workers became key workers and they had not signed up, you know, they had not signed up to be key workers. When you sign up to work in a cook shop, often 10 years ago, you're signing up to work in a kind of lovely little community retailer, not to be rolling out vans at pace, going online, being in the middle of a pandemic. So there's definitely, from a wellbeing perspective, really trying to manage that change so people didn't feel overwhelmed. And managing any anxiety around all that change has been really challenging for us this year. And, you know, a lot of time and energy has gone into that. And it definitely starts with listening. But yeah, bringing people with you through a really anxious time, I think is all about listening, talking to each other, and then trying to provide back what you're hearing. So if people are anxious, we're providing spaces to talk. If people are worried about physical health, providing online exercises. If people are worried about their finances because partners and things have been out of work, providing financial. So for me, that's kind of, yeah, well-being starts with listening as to where are the real concerns, and then trying to, you know, as a company, try and serve your team by meeting some of those needs in a practical way. But it's difficult, you know, well-being is difficult. And I think the coronavirus has taught us that everyone approaches these things in completely different ways. You know, we've had some teams or team members who've been just no problem, haven't blinked and just carried on. And we've had others who are still really deeply concerned about coming anywhere near an office and everything in between. And so trying to run a business when you're dealing with, you know, such difference in how people are approaching it is a challenge. But I think, as I say, I think it's all about listening as much as you can and then responding, you know, appropriately in a way that meets the needs of the business, but meets the needs of the people as well.
I love the idea of your wellbeing warriors. I mean,
they're cool.
Such a big responsibility, though. Really, like you say, there's a lot of people who will want to chat and will want to talk, and again, almost like therapy, really, over Zoom of how are you feeling, and you know, how can we get control of how you feel and talk it through. But how do people nominate themselves to say, I'd like to be a warrior, I want to help, or you know, that's quite a big role for someone.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, our wellbeing warriors put themselves forward some of whom have had real mental health struggles in the past, and so have come through them and then wanted to help other people. And that is by far, they are by far the most powerful advocates for it, because they've got really deep empathy, which people who haven't don't have. So that's been amazing. And we've also got what we're calling a wisdom and wellbeing course running internally to deliberately create more ambassadors. So you kind of seed it throughout the organisation. So, you know, across all the different production units and everything, you've got people there that are really trained in well-being and can spot early signs, are equipped to be able to then go and speak to people and deal with it. You know, which is really exciting for me, because that's what it's all about. But yeah, the more it's totally come from people internally who've really struggled with mental health and then want to give back. So yeah, and they've done a brilliant job. They've been amazing.
That is so nice to hear. I think you'll have a chat with Simon, and he'll have to show you the app, because you might be able to incorporate all of that into the app that
Cool.
you've been using, that we're about to take to market. And you know, you'll be able to do all of that on your iPhone basically. But yeah, we'll have to set you up on a pilot or something, so we can get your warriors on there, and get them communicating through their phone.
Amazing. Sounds cool.
Some final thoughts from you, Simon. What from I mean, I think Rosie, you've shared some amazing words of wisdom, really, and I think so much has resonated really with what people are feeling. And as you say, listening is such an important part of business. And I think when you are a business leader, we're quite used to the sound of our own voice and telling people what to do. But there's also a lot of substance as well, isn't there, on when you are a boss. Sometimes it's important to listen to the room and actually and it takes a lot to be the last person to speak.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, I think it's brilliant. I think you sound like the ultimate warrior leader, to be honest, ticking all the right boxes in all the right areas. So I think it's fantastic what you've been doing with your warriors, and I love that term, well-being warrior. Kind of makes you feel, well, it makes me feel pretty good if I was a warrior. But I think no, it gives people accountability, and it teaches them leadership skills within their own right anyway, taking on a responsibility like that to help others, and ultimately you know, giving back to the community, and in your case the community of your work, I think is really important. And I think if you have been through mental health struggles in the past, and obviously it's quite a poignant time right now this week discussing that, I have experienced that in my past, and that's probably why I do what I do in terms of helping people achieve better and optimizing their own performance, whether it's an F1 driver or whether it's a person working in an office who is equally skilled and coachable and wants to succeed. So I think that's great.
Thank you. It's awesome. We're far from perfect, but yeah, we're trying.
Oh, I think a lot of organisations can take a lot from what you guys are doing, and that's why it's so nice to hear what an organisation like Cook is doing, how you've coped, how you've managed, and what you're doing for your people. Which is, it's all about the people, isn't it? And how they connect with your customers. That's how we do business. People do business with people that they like, who are kind, who are friendly and helpful, and want to do good. So tell me, when is your new range coming out? You said these little wholesome bowls.
The whole bowls are out in June. So yeah, watch this space. They're amazing.
Will do. So we'll make sure people go over to the website, which is cookfood.net, and everything is on there. So thank you so much, Rosie. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's really nice to see you again, Jo. Thank you for having me. And nice to meet you, Simon.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
And if you need somebody to come into your organisation to talk about, you know, fitness and nutrition, you've got a contact now. So
fantastic.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're doing some amazing stuff. So keep up the great work, and we'll keep shopping and supporting your business in every way that we can as well. So yeah, wishing you all the best for the rest of the year.
And you, and I hope to catch up again before too long.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care.
Yeah.
Bye.